Hey everyone, welcome back to We're Looking at NIO. The NIO CEO says that robotaxis are not a sustainable business. This is very interesting because I've previously said that if NIO chose to go in this direction, it would actually be a decent idea. It would be a good idea. But let's hear what they have to say. In an interview, the annual Tech Focus event from the EV maker NIO, the CEO, William Lee, addressed the future of autonomous driving, particularly focused on robotaxis as Tesla's prepared to unveil its Cybercab on October the 10th. Lee emphasized that the true value of autonomous driving lies in enhancing safety and freeing up human energy rather than displacing drivers from their jobs. That's a very good point. Listen to what he just said. It's all about enhancing safety, freeing up humans' energy rather than displacing us from our jobs. That is a very good point. I don't think a lot of people are thinking about that. Like, if robots really take over the taxi business, which is looking likely that will happen eventually, then there's going to be a lot of people out of jobs. Now, of course, for companies, this might mean more revenue, but for the citizens still need a very diverse job choice. When we limit that by replacing these jobs slowly but surely with robots, if you don't offer citizens an alternative career path, then it becomes very daunting on the economy if citizens are not able to thrive. Now, the technology for robotaxi will definitely mature from a technical perspective. I have no doubt about that. If robotaxi cannot be realized, then it's no point in talking about artificial intelligence. It will definitely mature, sooner or later, he said, end quote. Lee expressed skepticism about the sustainabilities of robotaxi as business models for NIO, pointing out that while the technology will be matured, the limited capacity of urban areas to accommodate operational vehicles restrict the potential for large-scale commercial success. But is it necessarily a sustainable business? No, it's not. That's what he has to say. He says robotaxi cannot solve the issue of traffic volume. So in the end, the number of operational vehicles a city can accommodate, whether driven by humans or not, is limited. This limitation means that robotaxis will never become a business with limitless expansion like software, cloud services. And he ended his quote by saying, "Wake up." Again, that's a very good point he's had in. Robotaxi is not a business that has an infinite amount of expansion ability. It doesn't. Okay, you can expand from city to city. Then you can expand from state to state, country to country, continent to continent. But there are limiting factors. There's definitely limited factors. So he's pointing out that there's definitely limitations. How long will it take a company like Tesla to accomplish or to reach those limitations is unknown. But when you have Tesla vehicles everywhere in every city, simply by hitting a switch that turns them into a robotaxi, you've pretty much hit your limitation already. So where do you expand beyond that? Here's the thing that I didn't hear Lee pointing out. Robotaxi is not meant to be a sustainable business on its own. In fact, it's supposed to be a type of business that can support your larger business. For instance, Tesla sells cars, but with this self-driving software, they can probably sell that to other companies. They can probably loan it out. They can also sell it to the customers of Tesla. Remember now, you have to pay extra money for self-driving technology when you're buying with Tesla. Now in Tesla's business, you have the robot, you have solar energy, you have the battery packs, you have many different ways they want to make money. You have an ecosystem of business, somewhat similar to what Apple has done. With Apple, they created an app store. They charge developers 20 to 30% of all revenues. Tesla will do the same. What Apple has done is created a product for every segment to sell you, the consumer. Tesla wants to do something similar. Apple wants to go into the inevitable areas, like, for instance, the Vision Pro, the headset. So, Tesla going into robotaxi, for them, it's very logical. It's not that this business is going to be forever lasting or forever expanding, but it's an obvious choice. They have the car, they have the self-driving software. The car can run more efficiently than a normal human, can run for 24 hours if it wants to, except for the times when it needs to be charged. So it can actually make a lot of money for Tesla and for the owners of the vehicle, and it will incentivize people to buy that Tesla vehicle. So Tesla has very good reasons for wanting to go into the robotaxi industry. what the NIO CEO is pointing out is some of the flaws of this plan, and he's rightfully pointing them out. For one, it doesn't necessarily mean that traffic will be any improved. In fact, people will be losing jobs. And additionally, it's a type of business that has a limited expansion plan. You know, After you've expanded to the largest cities or even the smaller cities in multiple countries, you know, what else is there exactly to make money from? It's a taxi business is difficult for a reason. So I understand so I understand both points, but I always think with robotaxis, NIO could change their mind in the future. NIO already has self-driving capabilities that are comparable to Tesla, if not more advanced. You don't have to take my word for it. Just watch this clip. This is a NIO vehicle that is driving autonomously on its own. I think this might be in China, in fact. And it's just fully operating on its own. Now you can tell it's a NIO vehicle because of that little cute robot on the dashboard. That's a NIO. And the landscape, half portrait. It's like a square infotainment system. You can tell that's a NIO. But this car is completely driving itself. And yes, it's at night. There's low traffic volumes. I've seen a video of a NIO vehicle driving itself in a significantly more tricky scenario, and I've been trying to find that video. I found it once on Twitter, haven't been able to find it again. I've been trying to find that video for a long time. But let's just go ahead and just skip ahead a little bit. Right now, it's just driving around in a parking lot, dealing with a little bit of traffic in and out, typical stuff, typical stuff that it's supposed to be able to handle. And there you go, a better perspective of the NIO logo. Really quickly, arriving to a NIO swap station, by the way. This is what a NIO swap station looks like. And the car will probably, yeah, it's driving itself into the swap station. There's a NIO logo. That's honestly not too bad. So, NIO is actually quite advanced in this space. And yeah, the car will just, I think the battery was just swapped, just like that, really quickly. And the car just continues on with its day. So that was a quick look at NIO self-driving technology as such. Now we want to take a look at NIO's phone. Now, it was Polestar who released their phone quite recently, and now it's NIO who's releasing their mobile phone. So I must say, it is good to see that NIO is going in this direction because NIO vehicles is so popular in China. And I'm already in guess that these phones will sell very well with their cars. And you can already see, companies that are doing very well in China, either in the phone company business, like Xiaomi, they've built an EV cars. EV car companies, Polestar, NIO, they're doing very well in China. They've built a phone to a company that, like the Polestar phone, I think it's only available in China. And in terms of the NIO phone, it's probably only going to be available in China for the foreseeable future. I could go into details, but I won't. I'm just going to talk about the most important, simple part is that, it's a smartphone, just like most modern smartphone. It's compatible with most modern smartphone. So I'm guessing it's going to sell very well along with the NIO vehicles for obvious reasons. Honestly, if I'm buying a NIO car, I'd probably buy one of these phones as well, just to have a better experience, and that's just being in the ecosystem because I like the way how NIO builds their cars. I like the way how they do things. I would just buy the phone as well. It looks like an Android phone, but it's probably not Android. It's probably using its own software or a different type of software, that is similar to Android, which is quite typical. But nevertheless, I think this is a great thing. It's an absolutely great thing. This phone can give you everything another phone can do. If you're buying a NIO car and you want a new phone, I think this is going to be a popular option for a lot of people. Who knows what ideas this gives NIO? Who knows where this might go? This might be a great thing for them, not just to make money by selling a phone, to have your own ecosystem, your own operating system, your own fan base, and to have them so well connected. And that's an idea in China that's really driving the way, especially in today's world. By the way, these images are really nice. From the interior of the NIO car to how the phone matches with everything. I really like this. I love the interior of NIO cars, by the way. I really do. I think the display needs to be landscape. Perhaps that's not a big deal in China, but I think more in the US or in Europe, I think that's more of an expectation is that the screen is more landscape because people want that sort of cinematic vibe. But also I think there's a lot of people who are happy with a square display or a portrait display. I say the same thing about Polestar. Reason I love the Polestar 4 is because of the landscape display and the overall shape. It's a beautiful car. But something else important that I wanted to touch on was that NIO revealed progress on the autonomous driving chips, in-car OS, and AI assistant. This is what I mean. This phone that NIO has unveiled, it reveals more about the company's intentions. They're not just an EV company, they're a technology company who happens to create electric vehicles, similar to Tesla. Tesla made this realization quite a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, they realized we're no longer an EV company, we're a tech company who happens to make EVs. With NIO advancing in this area of autonomous driving chips, in-car software, and AI assistance, yeah, they're certainly they certainly know what they are as a company. And not just a company who creates cars. They're a company who could create anything. NIO on July the 26th gave updates on some of the most important technological in development, including the world's first 5 nanometer chip for autonomous driving. Its in-house developed operating system for vehicles, in-house developed. That's key for me. I like it when companies do this, especially companies that I like to invest in, such as NIO, and a voice assistant powered by its large language model. So why does it matter? NIO's fullest disclosure yet of its technological roadmap reflects on how the Chinese electric vehicle makers spend its research and development money, and how it has made a strategic bet on artificial intelligence, hoping to redesign all aspects of vehicles including self-driving and so-called digital cockpit. Details. Speaking in a firm annual Tech Day event in Shanghai, NIO CEO and founder William Li unveiled new details of what they call the world's first 5 nanometer processor for autonomous driving, set to offer cameras with top-notch image signal processing functions. Now, Lee confirmed that the company has completed the tape out for its self-designed autonomous driving semiconductor, which marks the end of the design phase. So clearly they're working with a manufacturer, they're working with a designer company to build this chip, but the software, their OS, is something that they've actually built in-house in their own company, which is important because I remember this was a key thing that I noticed about Tesla back in the early days. I'm talking like 2015, 2014, 2013. Key thing that Elon used to mention back in those days was everything you see on Tesla vehicles are basically built in Tesla, which was really important. The batteries, they had that partnership with Panasonic, I think, but they wanted to build as much of the car as possible. Now, I don't know how much of that was truth by Tesla's CEO, but I'm guessing he was right on a numerous of things that Tesla builds themselves. And it really seems like in today's world, this is the way to go. You're seeing larger companies, they're moving away from relying on other suppliers and they're doing their own thing. Who'd have ever thought that Apple would stop using Intel chips and start building their own? Well, no one saw that coming. I don't even think Warren Buffett saw that coming when he invested into Apple. But Apple made the big decision to build their own chips. Who knows what manufacturer they're using or if they're building it themselves. I hope they're building it themselves because what a power that would give them. But my point is, you got these companies that some companies, like NIO, they can build some things in-house, but some things they still need to work with other people to accomplish. But you can see companies are definitely changing the way they do things. More companies want to build more things in-house within their own company, and it's making sense. You will be significantly less reliant on another companies for your company's salvation, which is the way to go. Because when you have to rely on someone else, there's always going to be something that doesn't go right or something you're just not fully happy with. When it's your own chip, you can do whatever you want. When it's your own operating system, you can do whatever you want, So this is the way that the industry is certainly going. Another thing as well is that NIO surpassed 2,500 battery swap station milestone, with 98% of that in China. The rest is probably in Europe, as they've been expanding in Europe in recent years, Germany, Netherlands, I think, places like this. It's been quite impressive from NIO. NIO operates over 2,500 battery swap stations globally, 2,454 power swap stations in China, and 51 in Europe. It brings the total number to 2,505 swap stations as of today. The company surpassed an important milestone in July the 25th by installing the 2,449th power swap station in the Middle Kingdom. However, this number proliferates. On July the 29th, NIO established the 2,454 battery swap station in China. It took NIO 4 years to install the first 1,000 power swap stations in July 2022. It added the second 1,000 swap stations a year later. It added the second 1,000 swap station in a year and 3 months. In the next 9 months, the company added over 500 power swap stations. Now, last year, NIO started to continuously invest in charging and battery swap infrastructure. In November, NIO signed the battery swap station and charging infrastructure cooperation agreement in Shanghai and Geely. With Shanghai and Geely, in January 2024, Jacques and Sherry became part of the alliance. So NIO has been expanding this alliance of their infrastructure. They've been using it as gold to attract new business opportunities, new automotive companies, new electric car producers, and they've all been signing this NIO alliance agreement, to basically to use some of NIO's infrastructure, because most of these companies don't want to invest in their own. Where NIO is right now, especially in China, you remember when Tesla was in the early days of creating their, superchargers, like 2015, 2016. This is similar to where NIO is. But because NIO is less global, I'll probably say 2015 somewhat. But they are gradually expanding in Europe consistently. And that's great in terms of the sales of vehicles. With the lack of incentive to ship to Europe right now because of the tariffs, NIO and other Chinese companies have full intentions to continue to ship vehicles to Europe. They won't slow down at all. The competition is all out and they don't intend on giving up at all. So with everything being said, despite the fact that NIO might say right now the robotaxi doesn't make full sense, well, we don't know what robotaxi is yet. It's not even there yet. It's not even in the world yet. It's going to become a thing that we didn't predict it to become. It's going to turn into something we could not predict. And perhaps NIO might change their mind at a later date if it makes financial sense. But if they do change their mind, they have all the infrastructure ready to start robotaxi. They won't be at a loss. So at the moment, like I said, NIO probably has more important things to focus on, like launching the Firefly brand, making sure that Envu is successful, expanding their infrastructure in Europe and sales of vehicles, probably building more factories, which will be great. We need an America's factory, we need a European factory. Probably multiple because NIO has like 3 brands, probably more in the near future. So you can see how they want to focus on other things rather than robotaxi right now. Tesla can focus on robotaxi because Tesla has built up such an incredible infrastructure. Why wouldn't they? They have the money, they have the resource, they have the time to focus on robotaxi. So by all means do that. But NIO still has to focus on other things first, while robotaxi is something that they could reconsider. Yeah, before we leave, let me just remind everyone of my focus for NIO. It is European and America's factory. They need those factories. It's 500K vehicles annually. NIO needs that. 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years away from accomplishing that. The second car brand, Envu, we have that. The third brand, Firefly. Nickname, codename Firefly, that's on the way. So I do hope that makes a lot of sense. But hey, thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.